Paralives has been the #1 game on my Steam wishlist since January of 2020, so to say that I'm excited to finally get to play it would be a massive understatement. Since I'm a life sim pro, I decided to make my very first Paralives playthrough a little more challenging by starting with no money and no home lot. My goal is not only to build a house and get rich, but also to find all 110 mushrooms, gems, paintings, and artifacts, complete all 4 community center bundles, and discover everything else Paralives has to offer. Can I accomplish all of that before my para dies of old age? I don't know, but I'm ready to find out. But first, hello everyone, welcome back. My name is Ali, and if you enjoy this video and you want to see more like it, then please consider subscribing. With that, I hopped on the very first train to Melano and learned a bit about the various people in town. But in the spirit of this being a rags to riches challenge, I wanted to start from scratch and meet my very first para, Myra Wims. She's pretty balanced in terms of personality, with an energetic vibe, the good at making friends social perk, and the jack of all trades talent. Myra and the train conductor Roberto bonded over a love of trains, which she definitely actually has, and then when there was an issue with the train, she offered her assistance. Whatever she did apparently worked, and the train was able to complete the journey to Melano, and I could finally begin playing Paralives after over half a decade of waiting. I wanted Myra to eventually live on this cute lot by the beach, but for now I just bought and sold it before removing all of her money so that she could truly start from zero. The first thing she did was check the newspaper and accept a quest to discover the town. The first goal was to collect 5 different things, so Myra ran around foraging for mushrooms until she stumbled upon the very rundown community center. Like in Stardew Valley, there were themed bundles she would need to complete, including art, money, food, and technology. Myra met a woman named Amira who was also checking out the bundles, and they started talking. They got along pretty well until Myra tried to flirt and it didn't quite land, but she was able to smooth things over. They continued getting to know each other, but Amira soon got tired and left. Since none of the mushrooms Myra collected were wanted at the community center, she donated them all to the museum instead. She spent the rest of the evening collecting various mushrooms and gemstones until— oh my god, girl! But Myra's built different, I guess, and just walked it off, continuing to collect items and dig up buried treasure chests. A few hours later, I decided to give her a break to throw a coin into a well, but— oh fuck, we're -$1. Oh, I didn't think about that, we don't even have a coin to throw. Since she was somehow even more broke now, she stole a snack from the vending machine and with that earned a personality level up. I chose the Jack of all trades mastery perk, which would give her +1 learning speed if she had at least 5 skills at level 5. There was a large crowd at the campground Myra was at, including the Maggie from Paralives, so I sent her to introduce herself. They hadn't been talking very long when Myra decided she wanted to flirt with Maggie, but she walked away before Myra could. I tried to get her to pick up a few more mushrooms, but she was too tired to do anything. I had just planned for Myra to sleep on a park bench or something like that, like I do for Sims Rags to Riches, but she wasn't able to. I sold off all of her duplicate items, bringing her to 59 paradigms, but that was nowhere near the 3,000 or so she would need to buy a lot. I started looking around the map for somewhere for her to sleep, and I couldn't find one anywhere, and I started to panic. I went into Paralives pretty blind, but one of the only things I knew was that your para wouldn't pass out if their exhaustion depleted, they would straight up die. Thankfully, right as I was about to give up, I made an incredible discovery. We could sleep in the lounge chairs. Oh my god. Okay, go Myra, go. I was even kind enough to let her spend $3 to take the bus so she could get there faster. Myra finally got to sleep and I got to choose her life goal. Since buying a lot was top priority, I decided it was fitting to give her the big house goal with the objectives of owning a house worth 40,000 paradigms and owning 1,000 paradigms worth of decorative items. In the morning, Myra headed to the nearby 24-hour gym to shower and use the bathroom. One of the other objectives for the town discovery quest was to buy an item from the store. So even though I knew it was probably a waste of her money, I sent her to the cafe next door to buy a sandwich. But as it turned out, it was definitely a waste of her money because it didn't even count towards the quest. So I sent her to an antique shop to see if she could find anything cheap there. Pretty much everything was out of her budget, but there was a candle for 75% off, so she got to complete that objective for just 2 paradigms. Myra then started talking to a man named Hayon, but she once again made things awkward when she tried to flirt. A little bit later, another man named Sam just stood right in the middle of their conversation, so when Hayon got tired and left, Myra started talking to him instead. And despite having the good at making friends perk, Myra didn't seem to be having a lot of success as he also abruptly left soon after. Myra gave up on socializing for the day, but she clearly still had love on the brain because when she went to bed, she developed a secret crush on Amira. The next morning, she headed right to the museum to donate all of her collectibles and ended up getting 250 paradigms and a laptop as a reward. She was also able to offer her first mushrooms to the community center, which meant she'd officially completed her town discovery quest. Myra spent the rest of the afternoon collecting various things around town and made another donation drop-off, earning a small trophy. A townie wanted her to go to the top of the mountain to look at binoculars, so she did that and earned $100. Myra then dropped off the final mushroom in the Common Mushroom Community Center bundle, earning a whopping 2,000 paradigms. She headed back to the beach, picking up all the collectibles she found along the way before finally heading to sleep. Myra headed to the cafe to get breakfast the next morning and she ran into Maggie. She still had the want to flirt with her, and for once she was actually successful. They spent the afternoon daydreaming at the beach together before Myra went to check the town request board. Find anvils? Sure, I guess. Is that like a common thing in this town? What the fuck? She spent the rest of the evening finding collectibles, including her first piece of art, which she was able to donate to the community center the next morning. Myra donated and sold off the rest of her collectibles as well as the laptop she had gotten, giving her enough money to buy her dream lot. She only had enough money left over to buy a bed and a toilet, but that was still way better than sleeping in a beach chair every night. She spent some more time foraging and then accepted a request to eat 3 times at Cream Cafe, which coincidentally was where she ate every day anyways. She dropped off her new collectibles at the museum and earned 500 Paradimes, which she used to buy a shower and a kitchen counter. I also placed down all of the random items she had acquired while scavenging. It may have been an ugly assortment of things haphazardly thrown around the lot, but it was Myra's ugly assortment of things, and she was very happy with her new living conditions. The next morning, I realized I actually had enough money to buy her a fridge, so I did that, and then Myra spent most of the day foraging. When she was done, she went to go find Amira, who was hanging out in the hair salon. They chatted for a bit, and I tried to send them to the cafe together, but I didn't quite understand how the group system worked yet, so Myra ended up going by herself. Myra decided she wanted to learn a new skill, so I decided to buy her an easel. Immediately after this, she got her first bank statement, but thankfully, due to her unemployment benefits, the bills weren't that bad. Myra got to work on her first painting, but soon became too embarrassed to continue because she took a shower outside, so instead she invited Amira over. They got to know each other a bit more, and Myra learned that Amira's talent was art, so they started talking about painting. Myra started to get hungry, so she headed back to the cafe, this time with Amira. I also realized just how insane their height difference was, but considering how close together they were running, they clearly didn't seem to mind. After finishing her meal, Myra completed her quest to eat at the cafe 3 times, but I guess Amira was not a fan, as she left before even ordering. Myra spotted Sam there, so she started chatting with him instead, but once again, he was not interested in her flirting. Though this time, I couldn't really blame him. She's barefoot dogs out in the cafe? Myra. Before it got too late, I sent Myra to go collect her cafe quest reward. Even though Myra had spoken to several more people today, Amira was the only one on her mind, and she wanted to spend 6 hours with her. And as I sent Myra to do her daily collecting, I realized the feeling may be mutual. Girl, why are you in my house? I mean, not that it's much of a house, I didn't know you were here. I'm sorry, queen, I wouldn't have left you like that. So Myra quickly showered and continued her quest to woo her. Okay, hey Amira. Come hang out with me. I want to become friends with you. And by friends, I mean I want to kiss you a little bit. Oh, we can flirt now. All right, 69% chance. Nice. Let's go. Okay, come on, Amira. And for once, Myra wasn't a one-hit wonder, as she continued to succeed in flirting, and they gained their first bit of mutual romantic interest. They hung out for a few more hours before Amira ran off, but both me and Myra were more optimistic that there was something there between them. Myra finished her painting, reaching level 3, then headed to bed. She spent the next day painting and collecting, and when she donated her items to the museum that night, she earned a solar panel. Okay, with love, I don't need a solar panel. Oh my god! Okay, I don't know if that's cheating, but that's not my fault the game gave me a $13,000 item. I didn't know. If I had known it was that much, I wouldn't have sold it, but like, I can't complain now, can I? Since we now had a decent amount of money, I decided it was time to build her a house. But first, I took a look at how much the rest of her collected furniture was worth. These are $10,000? Shit. This is $1,400? Holy shit, we've been rich this whole time and I'm just stupid. I got to work building my first ever house in Paralives, and despite how easy the building tools looked in the trailers, they were a bit more finicky than I expected. Now, I'm not a very good builder in any life sim game, and this was my first time using it, and this is early access, so take this all with a grain of salt, but I found that it wasn't very intuitive. I struggled with things like roofing and stair placement, but I did really enjoy all the customization and decor options. After an embarrassingly long time, I finally managed to make a shell I was decently happy with. But unfortunately, when I next reopened my game, the bottom floor was gone, and I couldn't figure out how to get it back. I was really burnt out with building at this point, and since we hadn't got to do much of the rags to riches living anyways, I decided I would just wait. Her new goal would be to save up 35,000 or so Paradimes so she could buy a pre-made house shell from the Steam Workshop. But in the meantime, I bought her a double bed, an upgraded kitchen, an indoor bathroom, and a desk, so her living conditions were still way better than before. With this, she was able to start working on the cooking skill, and she raised her painting to level 4 before heading to bed. She continued skill building the next day as she got an offer to learn programming from the newspaper and then painted until the evening. When she was done, Myra invited Amira over and the two continued flirting. She eventually proposed getting intimate for the first time, and while it was risky, it was successful, and the two woohooed? I'm not sure what we're calling it in Paralives, but they had a fun time together. Amira left soon afterwards, but they had spent enough time together to fulfill Myra's want, so it was a pretty successful date. And it paid off the next day as she soon earned another personality level up. This time, I selected the well-spent energy perk, which would let her cook and clean 4 times faster. Myra spent the rest of the day collecting and ended up finding the first of the technology bundle items, which I then realized I could just buy myself and donate. I couldn't figure out how to add the desk to my inventory, but she was able to donate the gaming chair, so that was one more item off of our list. Myra also completed the first of the money bundle by donating 5,000 Paradimes. She continued foraging, but when she made her final museum drop off of the day, she bumped into Amira, and I saw that they had the option to kiss for the first time. She's so tall. Oh, kind of. There they go, that's better. They continued talking as they made their way back to Myra's place. She confessed her attraction, which Amira accepted, but then she immediately left, so she was definitely giving Myra mixed signals. In the morning, she reached level 2 cooking while making breakfast, and then set off to do some collecting. Myra had a lot of success that day, finding several buried chests and a rare mushroom, but I found something disturbing. What the fuck? What the fuck? Why are there skeletons in the tree? Is this like a creepypasta? What is going on? And there's a skeleton down here? Hello? Yeah, this game low-key has some dark stuff going on, but for now I'm just gonna pretend I don't see it. She finished her collection run, then headed home to paint, where she reached level 6 before heading to bed. The next morning, Myra felt the call of romance, and we were both determined to make things official with Amira. So after her daily collecting, she invited Amira out on a date. They went ziplining, had dinner at a nice restaurant, and then went stargazing at the beach. Eventually, they headed back to Myra's place where she proposed going steady, and Amira accepted. Myra immediately got the want to move in with her, and after a few awkward-looking passionate kisses, Amira agreed. Now that I was able to take control of Amira, I saw that she already had the want to propose to Myra, so despite all of the wishy-washiness, she clearly also loved her. Amira was unemployed, but instead of having her join Myra on the foraging lifestyle, I had her get a more traditional job as a character artist. Even though it was 3 a.m., both women still had a good amount of energy, so they started painting together. A few hours later, Myra got tired, but Amira continued for a bit longer, eventually reaching level 3. She slept for just a few hours, and I noticed that when she woke up, she immediately went to brush her teeth because she's neat, which I thought was such a cute detail. While Myra went on her daily collecting spree, Amira continued to paint. She was able to reach level 5 before getting too bored to continue increasing her skill, so I sent her to play Among Us instead. The fact that that's a real thing I can do in a life sim is so funny. When Myra got home, she also started painting, and by the time she reached level 7, Amira had recharged enough to join her. Later that night when they were talking, Myra asked Amira if she wanted to have kids in the future, and she agreed. That meant they could try for a baby at any time now, but I wanted to hold off until they had a house. Amira headed off for her first day of work in the morning, while Myra went out to do what else but look for collectibles. By this point, Myra had a set routine for collecting that I found was a good balance between finding a lot of things while not taking a gazillion years. First, we'd check by her house and the beach for buried chests and wash-up crates, then we'd look up the mountain and down by the train tracks for mushrooms and gems. We were making pretty good progress, and later that night she donated her 50th item to the museum, earning a silver trophy. The next few days followed a similar routine, with Myra collecting and Amira working before they spent the evening painting together. During this time, Amira decided that her life goal would be to have a baby, which she'd hopefully get to do soon, as each day they inched closer and closer to being able to afford a house. Unfortunately, that day after work, Amira got a strike due to her poor mood and graphic design skill, so I sent her home to start working on that. But in better news, Myra was able to complete the rare mushroom bundle, earning 10,000 paradigms. Some of these bundle rewards are absolutely insane, but I'm not gonna complain. I decided that Myra had been living the rags to riches lifestyle long enough, and she and Amira could finally have a house. And while I still found build mode a bit clunky, decorating was so much fun, oh my god. There were a ton of customization options and cute clutter, and I had a blast making every room exactly how I wanted. They also had a lot of really unique items, like various inclusive medical supplies. My desk in real life is covered in various stim toys, and it was really cool to be able to replicate that in game. There was just so much freedom to make things as cluttered and chaotic as I wanted, which adds so much realism in my opinion. I also finally figured out how to add the gamer desk to my inventory so Myra could donate it for the technology bundle. My one complaint is that everything was pretty dark at night, even with a ton of lights, but it didn't bother me too much. Anyways, after a gazillion years of decorating, I was done, and Myra had officially completed her lifetime goal. Myra and Amira then spent the first night in their new house working on painting and graphic design respectively. The next morning after her collection run, Myra donated the gamer desk to the community center, completing the technology bundle. Then she headed home to start learning the piano skill while Amira painted. A few hours later, Myra earned another personality upgrade, and this time I chose to give her a good first impression, which would guarantee she made friends with new parafolk. The next day, Myra dropped off some more donations at the museum, earning a wind turbine that was worth almost $20,000. Then she donated a painting to the community center, earning another $1,000 on top of that. Since we now had an insane amount of money, she spent $20,000 to finish the second money bundle, which gave her a water recycler worth $15,000. Amira joined Myra there, and the two played Melly Mellow for a bit until Amira felt the time was right and decided to propose. Unfortunately, I think because they were sitting, I didn't actually get an animation, but they did get engaged, so that's all that mattered, I guess. Doing that earned Amira a personality upgrade, so I chose to increase the sell value of her paintings. The couple spent the rest of the night together in glitchy bliss. The next day when Myra dropped off her collectibles, I had a genius idea. I wondered if any of the restaurants in town sold the items required by the food bundles so she wouldn't actually have to learn how to cook them. I checked the cafe, and sure enough, they sold confetti cakes, so Myra grabbed a slice to donate tomorrow. Later that night, I got a strange notification. Something happened in town. What? That's like the most ominous thing I've ever seen. What do you mean? That is so vague. But whatever happened wasn't enough to stop our lovely couple from eloping right there on their back porch. This time I actually got to see the animation, and it was pretty cute, but the slow dancing they did right afterwards was downright adorable. I will say, right now, the Paras don't really feel like their own distinct characters, but I think that with how the personality system is set up, they definitely could in the future once more interactions and dialogue cards are added. Either way, they chatted all night and finally went to bed well into the next morning. I also found out what had happened in town that night, as a meteor had apparently crashed into the community center. Myra collected it, but unfortunately she couldn't donate it, so instead she sold it for $3,000. Once Myra got home, she and Amira tried for a baby, and the next morning, Myra anticlimactically and abruptly aged up into an adult. Unfortunately, birthdays aren't really in the game yet, so they don't feel that impactful, but I know that's something that will get added down the line. I took Myra into Paramaker and gave her a bit more of a mature makeover. Paramaker is really cool, and I love all the customization options and thoughtful details, but the clothing and hair options are very limited right now. I know that is something I could fix with CC if I wanted to though, so it's not a huge deal. When Amira got home, she took a pregnancy test and confirmed that the couple was expecting a baby. I didn't really notice a huge change in Amira physically, nor did I have any idea when I could expect her to give birth, so she and Myra just continued their routine as normal the next day. The day after that, Amira got a vacation day, which I planned to have her use the next day, as I assumed that's when her baby would come. Unfortunately, I was wrong. Whoa, what? What? We had twins? What? I was shocked she had twins, especially because there was only a 5% chance. But regardless, Myra and Amira now had twin sons named Rami and Kareem. Amira was already not being the best parent, as she left them both on the ground outside of her work. But you know, if I gave birth to surprise twins on the job, I'd be a bit disoriented too, so fair enough. Thankfully, I eventually got them home and set up some cribs and toys for them. Speaking of twins, while collecting, Myra found a second anvil so she could finally complete the request she started so long ago. Something I'm sure she thought was pretty exciting until she came home to see her new children. Amira did still use her vacation day so she could spend time taking care of the boys. Later that night, she too aged up into an adult, but I couldn't really focus on that because there was a lot going on with the twins. Oh my god, why are you... Okay, what is happening? Where did they go? What the hell did you do with your baby? Oh my god, don't hold your child like that. Oh my god. World's worst parents, please. Okay, great. Why are you in the... Oh, what the hell? Kareem! How the fuck did you get over there? Oh my god, how am I gonna get you back? Don't worry, I was able to save Kareem from drowning, and soon both boys were asleep, allowing their moms to work on painting and spend some time together. I eventually remembered to take Amira into Cass and gave her a little makeover, but soon we were back on the baby raising grind. Babies in Paralives are just the right amount of annoying, while still giving your paras time to skill build and do other things, like give a woman 2 anvils that she requested a decade ago. You know, like one does. And just a few days later, the twins aged up into toddlers. Very tall, kind of scary looking toddlers with bright orange hair for some reason, but toddlers nonetheless. I gave them both makeovers, and for my sanity, I decided that Rami would wear warm colors and Kareem would wear cool colors so I could tell them apart more easily. I also randomized their personality points, and Rami got 1 in physique, while Kareem got 1 in charisma. Toddlers don't really have to learn skills yet, so they were much more self-sufficient, only really needing attention, food in the high chair, and the occasional bath or diaper change. Amira had to go back to work that day, so the boys went to daycare while Myra went collecting. She donated 50,000 paradigms to complete the 3rd money bundle, but the 4th one required 125,000 paradigms, which would definitely take a while to save up. Myra had also donated all of the food bundle items she could get from restaurants, so she or Amira would have to learn to cook the rest. Each day, they would use the computer to learn a new recipe in the hopes of learning one of the ones needed. The family spent a very domestic night together, with Myra and Amira painting while their sons played. Unfortunately, I also realized that Amira's life goal was glitched, and for some reason it didn't register her giving birth. They could barely fit 2 kids in this house, much less any more than that, so I just decided to cancel it. The next few days were pretty much the same, and Myra and Amira spent their time taking care of the boys and collecting and painting respectively. But that's not to say that those days were boring by any means. Whoa, what? You know, sure. Oh, okay. Did that just like delete my counter? Myra. Amira was also able to get a higher paying job as a graphic designer, and since she needed to be on her computer a lot more to practice, I bought the household a second desk setup. The wins for Amira continued as she learned the recipe for spaghetti marinara, which Myra needed for the food bundle, and she earned a personality level up. This one was easily by far the most busted I had seen so far, as every hour she slept, she would gain skill experience in a random skill she worked on that day. This ended up being super useful as she instantly leveled up several times in graphic design in just one night's sleep. Myra had a win of her own, as the next next day, she found a bleeding tooth mushroom. There isn't a way to keep track of things you've collected in-game, so I'd been using this list on the wiki, and I was pretty sure that the only 2 mushrooms she was missing at this point were the bleeding tooth and the puffball, meaning that now she only had 1 left. She also only had 1 gem left to collect, the ruby, and while she still had a ton of artifacts and paintings to go, foraging for hours every day was definitely paying off. Though it did mean that she was out of the house when Rami and Kareem abruptly aged up into children. With this, I had to choose their talents. I selected fitness for Rami and then put another point into physique, but for Kareem I decided to go with something completely different, technology, and I put a second personality point into mind. And clearly that was the right choice because within like 5 minutes of aging up, Kareem found the Among Us plushie I hid. I then gave the boys makeovers. Rami's was pretty simple and I gave him a lot of workout and athletic wear. Kareem aged up with these adorable glasses and I gave him some dorky but cute outfits to go with them. But when I went back into the game, I noticed something strange. What is that? Why do you have that? What? Why do you just have a flagpole attached to your ass? What is going on? Luckily, I fixed it just by reloading the save. Anyways, I then went into build mode to redecorate their rooms, aka I just threw down 2 single beds, as that was literally the only thing that would fit in there. But hey, I had planned for them to have 1 baby, so that's on them for being born twins. That night, Myra was able to learn the ham sandwich recipe, which allowed her to complete the simple meal bundle. That unlocked the gourmet food bundle, but luckily, I already knew where I could buy 2 out of the 3 required dishes, which Myra did before heading home for the night. The couple decided to catch up for a bit, and while chatting, Amira got another personality level up. This one was pretty underwhelming compared to her last one, as it would just help other paras gain a random skill level when talking to her. Myra also got a personality level up and was able to add another point into creativity. The family spent the rest of the weekend hanging out and building skills. We got another bank statement, but this time I noticed a giant red stamp, and when I clicked on it, oh, what? Hello? That was just like particularly like shiny. Oh my god? Yo? Yeah, apparently this was an entire collection with its own collection page that I had only just realized existed. As I had been playing, I realized that it would be pretty unlikely I'd be able to finish the entire museum or community center bundles by the time Myra died of old age. While I was obviously still going to try to do as much as I could, this stamp collection seemed actually feasible to complete in the time I had left. So I made that another goal of mine and had Myra order a ton of flowers so we could get more stamps tomorrow. Today was also the boys' first day of school, but when they returned, I realized that the system was much more complex than in The Sims, as each separate class had its own grade. Kareem somehow already had a D in art class, so I had him paint the rest of the day, while Rami had earned an upgrade point, which I used to get +1 learning speed. That evening, Myra donated her 85th item to the museum and earned a giant trophy. I had accidentally sold both of her other trophies, and I didn't want to do the same with this one, so I put it right by the fireplace in the living room. I also had her donate a croissant and Hawaiian pizza to the community center, meaning she just had 2 meals left: cheesecake and fluffy pancakes. However, there was no way to know when she'd be able to make them, as she and Amira could only learn 1 new random recipe a day. Speaking of Amira, she got a new job as a branding artist, which almost doubled her pay, so she took a break from graphic design and spent the rest of the night painting to celebrate. In the morning, we got all of the flowers Myra ordered, as well as a ton of new stamps. As embarrassing as this is to admit, I am a gacha gamer, and opening my mail every day to check for stamps gave me the same gambling thrill as a 10 pull. At first, I didn't know how I'd feel about a Stardew Valley-esque collection system in a life sim game, but honestly, I think it's one of Paralives' strongest aspects right now. It's just so fun and addicting. When the boys got back home from school that day, Kareem had PE homework, which I planned to have him do after a shower, but okay, that was super easy. He just had to do whatever the fuck that, you know what? Honestly, that is very impressive physically. To be able to move like that, Kareem, you're built different. You deserve an A. You deserve an A. Once Myra was done with her collection run, I decided to look around the stores in town, as I hadn't really done that so far. During this, I discovered the general store, which had some weird stuff like a $25,000 mushroom greenhouse, but more importantly, there was a recipe book. For just 100 paradigms each, both Myra and Amira could learn 2 recipes each day, doubling our potential chances for learning the ones we needed. When Myra went to drop off her donations for the day, I also realized I hadn't yet explored the library. It seemed pretty standard, nothing that special, until I went up a few floors and discovered— What? Hello? I was trying to open the chest! Oh, what? Hello? Sell painting, yeah, go sell that painting. But unfortunately, Myra wasn't able to get into the room, so she couldn't actually explore it. I searched all over the library and found several other secret passages, but none that she could actually access. I did, however, find something else strange. What? What? Hello? Why are we on the wall? This building is weird. Why are there skeletons in the attic and our faces on the wall? I spent a stupidly long time looking around the library trying to find a way into the secret area, but I just couldn't figure out how to get in there. Since I didn't want to look anything up, I just decided to save it for a future playthrough. All I know is something's up with this fucking town. Why are there skeletons everywhere, bro? This place is scary. I then realized something even more horrifying. Amira was gone. I could click on her portrait and queue up actions, but no matter what I did, she wasn't able to do anything, nor could I see her. Is she one of the skeletons? But after I switched households, closed and reloaded the game, moved her out on her own, and literally anything else I could think of, and she still didn't reappear, I genuinely started to worry. All of the glitches I had experienced so far had been pretty tame and silly, but if Amira was gone for good, that would have been genuinely game-breaking. Thankfully, once I moved in a completely new household and played around with them for a while, I was finally able to see her again, and she was back to normal once I switched back into the family. This glitch taught me a valuable lesson. There are no skeletons in Melano, and no one should ever question that fact. Anyways, after all of that, I just sent everyone to bed, hoping we'd have a better day tomorrow, and we did. Both Rami and Kareem got upgrade points from school, which let them bump up their grades a bit, and Amira learned the fluffy pancakes recipe at the general store. Unfortunately, she currently had a 0% success chance, so instead Amira researched food on the computer and cooked dinner to boost her skill. The next day was fairly chill. Our parents went about their daily routines, with the only notable things being the boys having a growth spurt, which was just adorable, and, this. Okay. Sure, Myra. Just go piss girl. Wherever you want, queen. The next days went by similarly and were filled with family bonding, opening mail, and lots of skill building. While there isn't really a ton to do yet, and some aspects feel pretty shallow, which is to be expected for an early access game, Paralives is downright addicting. I constantly found myself going, okay, I'll play just one more day, over and over and over again. There is just so much clear heart and passion in this game, and I'm so excited for the future. If you are at all interested in what you've seen so far, I highly encourage you to support the dev team by checking it out yourself. Anyways, these calm days were finally interrupted by, oh my god, yo, that's crazy. I'd given up hope. After almost 50 days of playing, I had finally found the last mushroom I needed for my collection. And just in time too, as immediately afterwards, Myra aged up into an elder. Oh god, she has 13 days left to live, make the most of it. Oh no. Okay. I gave her a quick makeover, and though I felt a bit bad sending a little old lady out to run around town collecting mushrooms and digging up chests all day, it was totally worth it, as she found the Mona Lisa, leaving her with just one painting left to complete the entire art bundle. Kareem got a personality upgrade, which unlocked a small programming contract he could do each day to earn 200 paradigms. I was determined to get the 125,000 paradigms needed for the 4th money bundle, and every little bit helped, so I immediately sent him to go work on that. Myra also donated her 90th item to the museum, earning a castle replica. While that was cool and all, we really didn't have the space for it, and based on the prices of her past rewards, I figured it would be better to sell it, but nothing? Well bro, I wouldn't have sold it had I known it was nothing. Damn it. That would end up being a bad omen for the next few days. Neither member of our couple learned the cheesecake recipe, Myra barely found any new collectibles or stamps, and Amira was still unable to successfully cook fluffy pancakes. Myra's aging felt like a constant countdown, and I knew time was running out. But she wasn't the only one getting older, and the twins aged up into preteens. And as preteens, I now had to choose their vibes. I picked Jester for Rami and gave him a personality point in Charisma, and selected Sirius and Mind for Kareem. They didn't look that different due to their growth spurts, which are a really cool system, but I still gave them small makeovers to look a bit more mature. And it seemed like the twins aging up shook off our bad luck spell, as the very next day... Cheesecake! Oh my god. Oh my god. I was so relieved to have one less thing to worry about. I immediately sent Amira home to make one, and Myra dropped it off at the community center later that night, earning 10,000 paradigms. With that, the only thing left to complete the food bundle was fluffy pancakes, so Amira would need to really lock in on cooking over the next few days. However, she was also really behind in graphic design for work, so she needed to do that as well. But above all else, today was her birthday, and she deserved a reward, so after her makeover, I gave her the rest of the night off. The next day, Rami got a personality upgrade, and I chose for him to get +2 happy when exercising. Up until now, I had just been having him research fitness on the computer, but because of this, I realized that he could actually work out on the treadmill. He did that most of the afternoon, then spent the evening chatting with Myra. The next morning, after my gacha pulls, stamp collecting, I realized that we only needed 5 more until that collection was complete, and I hope we'd be able to do that in the few days we had left. I was also still optimistic that we'd be able to finish the gem collection, as all we were missing was the ruby! Oh my god. Oh, the joy I get from shit. This game is such a treasure. With that, Myra had completed both the mushroom and gem collections, and even though it was basically impossible to complete the rest in time, I was quite content with having 2 out of the 4 done. Amira was also having a good day as she got another personality upgrade. I gave her another point in creativity to help her with both cooking and graphic design. The entire family spent the evening skill building, and even though they were all in different rooms, it still felt pretty cute and domestic. The next morning marked the last week of the challenge, as Myra only had 7 days left to live, and she started it with a bang. Oh my god, ah! Thankfully, she put it out pretty fast, so the only harm was having to replace the stove and queue up all of her collectibles again, but that could have gone way worse. The rest of the day was much more chill, and Kareem spent several hours practicing piano. Throughout his preteen years, he would frequently autonomously start playing, so I decided that once he aged up into a teen, I'd give him a point in creativity to help with his new passion. The next morning, I realized that Myra only needed 2 more stamps to finish the collection, so instead of buying her usual 10 flowers a day, I increased it to 20. Both boys got upgrade points when they came home from school, and I realized that Rami was now a B average student. It's kind of funny because originally I planned for Rami to be the laid-back jock and for Kareem to be the serious nerd. In reality, while Kareem is very dedicated to both programming and piano, he doesn't really do great at school compared to Rami, despite them having similarly good moods each day. Myra then donated her 95th collectible to the museum. I realized that that meant she was only missing 15 out of the 110 collectibles, and when you put it that way, it feels much more impressive. That night while she slept, Amira maxed the graphic design skill, so she was finally in the green for her job. And all of her prior hard work in cooking finally paid off when she was able to make fluffy pancakes. Since Myra was already at the community center, she went ahead and dropped them off, completing the entire food bundle and earning 10,000 Paradimes. The day's excitement continued as the boys aged up into teens. Rami aged up with a little beard, a ton of acne, and a few piercings, all of which I kept in his teen makeover. Kareem was adorable, and I gave him a new pair of glasses and some colorful little outfits. Rami gained a point in charisma and the good at romance social perk, while Kareem gained a point in creativity and the good at taking care of others perk. Rami worked out the rest of the evening, and Kareem spent some time with Myra, albeit in a very, very strange way. It had also been a while since Myra and Amira hung out, so they painted for a while before getting intimate. In the morning, the boys headed to their first day of high school, and I noticed that they had changed into cute little uniforms. I kind of regret Myra having kids so old because we don't have much time with them as teens. Let me know if you'd be interested in seeing me play with the boys sometime in the future, maybe after Paralives gets a few more updates that would better let me flesh out their personalities. They both came home with upgrade points, and I learned that their grades had carried over from elementary school, which was great for Rami and less great for Kareem, but still cool overall. They also had the ability to add new elective classes, and since Kareem is exploring his newfound creativity, I signed him up for dance. I haven't talked about it too much, but I really like Paralives' career/school system with the various upgrade perks, and I'm very excited to see how they expand on them in the future. Myra and Amira once again spent the evening painting together, and Amira reached level 20, maxing the skill. The end of the challenge was rapidly approaching, which was super sad, but it was also cool to see these paras hit the milestones that they had spent their entire lives trying to reach. But the end of the challenge also meant the end of Myra's life, which I was grimly reminded of upon checking the newspaper the next morning. Oh my god, uh-oh, oh no. Yikes. Myra only had a little over a day left to live, and after seeing that, I decided I really didn't want her to die, at least not yet when she wouldn't even get a tombstone. So that meant that today would be the last full day of the challenge. Myra ran around town doing her final collection run, but instead of a celebratory victory lap, it ended up being much more grim. Is he dead? Hello? What? Okay. We're just not gonna worry about that then. And when she went to make her final donations, are you also dead? Oh my god, I cannot believe these corpses just stay here. That is so scary. What the fuck? Deadass, what is wrong with this game? I love it, but like, what the fuck? But thankfully, Myra didn't seem to notice and made her final donation of 125,000 Paradimes to the community center. The final money bundle was 500,000 Paradimes, which we obviously would not be able to do. But with that, she had completed 4 out of the 5 stages of the money bundle, all of the food and tech bundles, and was only missing 1 painting from the art bundle. She ended up not getting a ton of new artifacts or paintings during her last few days, but Myra still donated a respectable 97 items to the museum over the course of her life. For my first attempt at completing these with no guides, I was pretty satisfied with that. The couple spent their final evening together, and when Myra finished what would almost certainly be her last painting, I hung it downstairs for her family to have to remember her. The couple talked until the early morning and then went to bed together one last time. With this, the challenge was over. Or it would have been if I didn't have one final loose end. I was still missing 2 stamps, and when I didn't get them on this last day, I decided to push Myra's luck and go into the next morning so I could have 1 more round of mail delivered. But I wasn't gonna leave things to chance by just ordering 10 or 20 or even 30 bouquets. No, I ordered 100 bouquets, and I wasted no time opening each and every one of them. Yo, let's go, let's fucking go, holy shit. And with that, my first playthrough of Paralives has officially come to a close. Thank you so much for watching to the very end of the video. If you enjoyed it, then I once again ask that you please consider subscribing. Not only would it absolutely make my day, but you'll also be able to stay up to date with all of my future content. With that, thank you again for watching, have a great rest of your day, please take care of yourself, drink some water, and remember, there are no skeletons in Melano, and I'll see you next time. Bye, everyone!